that with impact and towards excellence. One masterclass a month, each focused on a different aspect of public relations and geared towards immediate implementation of skills, with a WhatsApp group that provides a supportive space. Some of the things that you will learn are the power of the Toastmasters brand and effective use of the PR toolkit. What about designing ads that wow? And creating and implementing a social media plan with effective use of the media. The PR for Success program, designed for VPPRs but open to all members and designed to help you take your PR skills to the next level. Are you ready?
District 74, after tonight, we will be exactly 1/4 of the way into our program. Welcome, good evening. It's so lovely to see so many of you here tonight for the Masterclass 3 in the PR for Success program. This program is designed for VPPRs and anyone who wants to learn about public relations within the Toastmasters context. We kicked off Masterclass 1 in July with a lesson on the Toastmasters brand. It was led by distinguished Toastmaster Gary Tinsinger as he took us through the brand manual and the importance of us as brand ambassadors upholding the Toastmasters brand. We even had a snippet of how to create adverts, which was led by Nada Tsinane. Masterclass 2 was so inspiring. They say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we will not let that happen to you, Toastmasters. So Masterclass 2 was planning for success, how to develop a public relations plan and track its performance. We also threw in a little bit about digital marketing and how to create adverts or to create messaging that speaks to success. I'm very excited about tonight's masterclass because today we're going to get very introspective as we talk about telling personal stories or using personal stories to sell the benefits of Toastmasters. Let's get right into it. Please join me in welcoming onto the virtual stage our resident host. She is the PR for Success program developer, Zakia Ismail. Over to you, Zakia.
Thank you, Maud. Good evening, everybody. I chose the song Dynamite because when we did our dry run and I was listening to the two Michaels speaking, I just thought, wow, this is dynamite. I learned so much and I was so excited for tonight. And I'm so excited to introduce our two speakers to you tonight. But before I do that, I just want to quickly warn you, as always, we keep things fresh and there's always changes. So this time you might find yourself in different breakout rooms, and this is a challenge to you. If you've never done speed dating before, today's the day to practice, because we're going to put you into breakout rooms and you're going to go straight into talking about whatever Michael Mayumbula has asked us to speak about. And then we're going to come back here, no time wasted, and give some feedback. So Oh, quick. Speed dating. It's practice. Don't ever say that Toastmasters doesn't give you new skills for life and for Toastmasters. I'd like to introduce our two wonderful speakers tonight. And we've changed up how they're going to present as well. So I'm going to introduce you to Michael Shackleton first, even though you're only going to hear about him from him later. Michael Shackleton is a DTM, and he's the area director of Area Y4. He's also the former administration manager for District 74, an attorney, and a member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. And he has an amazing story to tell. How do you go from, well, he's going to tell you, from where he was to DTM area director and Gauteng legislature. I don't want to give spoilers. But before you hear from Michael Shackleton, we're going to hear from Mayambula Michael Chikwililwa, who is a professional speaker, IT consultant, and distinguished Toastmaster as well. He's a part-time lecturer at the Namibia University of Science and Technology and a former board member of the Professional Speakers Association of Namibia. And he's the owner of Vision Multimedia CC and Foostel Food CC. In his own words, I motivate and teach teams to work better, communicate better, and select optimal goals while creating realistic, effective accountabilities to ensure that those goals are reached. And each of us in Toastmasters are part of some team. And Michael Mayambula is going to be sharing some amazing skills with us. So without much further ado, I hand you over to Michael Mayambula.
Good evening.
For once in my life, it's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids on the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A son's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first time presenting on this specific, platform. And I just want to thank the group for having, put together such an awesome initiative. So let's quickly dive into a few things. What are some of the objectives that we're going to try and target, within this session tonight? So first and foremost, this is my promise to you. If you stick to what I'm going to show you, this is actually going to be achievable. I'm going to show you how to attract 5 new members for your club within the next 3 to 4 months. Yes, that is my promise to you. Now, the other objectives that I want to focus on tonight are making sure that you know and understand your role a whole lot better. The second thing is I also want to try and impart you with practical skills, because I don't believe in, talking too much about theory without actually giving you the skills that you actually need to get the job done. And I'm also going to leave you with some tools that are going to help you become more successful within your journey. So let's just go through a few of the rules. First and foremost, we need to have respect for one another, especially when we get into the breakout rooms. And okay, the microphone one is basically null and void since our Zoom master, our capable Zoom master, is going to take care of that one. But most important of all, guys, I want you to have fun. If there's only one thing that you do tonight, please remember that you need to have fun, because that's when your learning experience is going to be the most impactful. Now, what exactly is the Vice President of Public Relations? Now, this is one of the things that, we generally struggle within Toastmasters. I remember when I came in, people were saying, VPR, VPM, and we don't have any idea about what some of these terms mean. Now, the abbreviation that you see over there, VPPR, basically means Vice President Public Relations. So in our session today, everything that we're going to be doing focuses on public relations. Now, what is public relations? If you take a look at that definition right there, I'll give you a moment to read it quickly. So for those who might have a few screens, let me just read it out for them. Public relations is based on building relationships and generating goodwill, which leads to credibility. This is the essence of everything that we're going to do today. We want to focus on the building of those relationships. So what's the difference between public relations and marketing? Well, it's because this is one of the things that gets a bit, becomes a bit confusing. Many people think that marketing, public relations, it's the same thing. Although they are somewhat interlinked, they are not exactly the same. So first and foremost, public relations deals with building relationships. This is the primary focus of public relations, whereas marketing is something that is more related to advertising. One of the things that I love about Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you look at the fact that we belong to an organization that is almost 100 years old. What is the actual aim and goal of Toastmasters? Toastmasters' aim and goal, or the way that I would define it, is as follows. Toastmasters is an organization that teaches the art and science of professional communication and leadership. Now, how does it do this? It does this by putting you in a situation where you are going to practice, because at Toastmasters, we believe that you cannot learn to drive or swim by reading books. You literally need to dive in. Now, as I mentioned, Toastmasters focuses on very practical elements. And I want you to think of Toastmasters as being an organization. Now, with any organization, let's say, for example, in a business, how do you actually go about making money? There are, generally speaking, only two ways in which you make money. And I want to use this analogy because Toastmasters is designed to help you become better at running your organization or your business. So sticking with the analogy of profit, right? There are only two ways in which people generally make money within the business. The first method is to either make more sales. So you sell more products, it means you're going to make more money. The second way in which you can make money within a business is by making sure that you reduce your overheads, which in essence means that you reduce the amount of money that it costs you to produce your product or your service. And because you start saving on that money, you start making more money. So those are the two ways. Either you make more sales or you reduce overheads. The Toastmasters environment, or the Toastmasters system, is based on a principle, because we don't deal with money per se. So Toastmasters came up with a concept that is called the Distinguished Club Program. And what the Distinguished Club Program does is it gives you points based on the performance of your club. Now let's take a look at how we can use the analogy of profit and relate it to the Distinguished Club Program or Distinguished Club points. So we mentioned that if you want to make more money in a business, you need to increase on your sales. Now, if we align this with a DCP, think of it as follows. We can also reduce your overheads. Now, let's come back to sales. In Toastmasters, the education product, the education program that we offer, that is our product, okay? Another thing that also you can think of that goes under sales is membership. So the more membership we have, the better we practice our sales skills within Toastmasters. How about reducing overheads? When you are efficient at running your own business or running your own organization, the systems and processes that you're going to put in place are going to help you save on money because you become more efficient. The other thing that we look at Toastmasters is training, because we believe that when your staff or the people within your organization are very well trained, they themselves, because of their training and because of their efficiency, are going to start saving you money. So for this presentation, because we're looking at public relations, we are now focusing more on the sales arm of things. Okay, now it's very important to note that within Toastmasters, guys, you need to make sure that you don't just join the Toastmasters club or take on a role in leadership just because there were, there was nobody else to do it. No, make sure that you align your own personal goals to your journey as a Toastmaster. This is very important because remember, this is a volunteer organization. And if you are doing things because of the sake of charity and not for your own personal development, a day will come when you could end up becoming tired, you end up getting burnt out. But when you know that your personal goals, right, or the things that you want to achieve within Toastmasters are going to help you get to those goals and those levels. This is when you are going to fight through those difficult times when challenges hit you. So let's move on to our second topic. Let's dive a bit deeper into the actual meat and substance of what we're here to do. The first thing that you need to realize, ladies and gentlemen, as it relates to public relations, is that customers are selfish. Yep, that's right, I said it. There is nobody that is walking out there who wants to just throw away money, for your products. And the same thing applies with the Toastmasters as well. People don't want to just join Toastmasters without any particular reason that is beneficial for them. So you must appeal to the selfish need that lies within the client. I'll give you an example. Whenever you have a headache or whenever you start sneezing, you don't think about running to the doctor immediately, do you? No, you don't. It's only when things get out of your realm or to be able to, to doctor yourself that you then think, okay, you know what? I don't have a choice. Let me go to the doctor. But it was never your intention to go to the doctor in the beginning. Now, the one thing that really helped me understand PR was an incident that I had in the gym. Okay, so I'm sure you can look at my cheeks. You can't see my tummy, even though there is one. I know it doesn't look as though I go to the gym, but on occasion, I do make an appearance at the gym. And I'll never forget this one occasion. So there was this one gentleman. He was a gym instructor at the gym. And he was trying to lure me into joining his personalized gym program. And this guy used to hound me each and every time I go to the gym. If I would see him, I would run away, I would duck, and I would literally try to, get out of his sights. So I remember this one Tuesday, in the morning, I went to the gym, had a nice workout, I was walking down, I was about to walk down the stairs to, go to the changing room in order to go take a swim. And out of the corner of my eye, I spotted this gym instructor. Oh my goodness. I ran around and hid behind a pillar. I thought, okay, let me just, give him about 1 or 2 minutes and, he's going to walk by or he'll disappear and then I can safely sneak into the change rooms. Lo and behold, when I came out of hiding, turned around the corner, boom, there he was right in front of my face. And as he stood there staring at me, he said, yeah, Michael, so why do you keep avoiding me, Michael? Where are you going, Michael? Where are you going? Why don't you want to join my program? And I looked at him. And he looked at me. Then he looked at my tummy, looked me in the face and said, don't you want to get rid of this stomach of yours? Now, the one thing that I need to mention is that this gym instructor was 2 times my size in terms of, being overweight. So obviously at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're claiming to be a gym instructor, yet you have got more weight than I am. Both of us are fat, but you're bigger than I am. How on earth am I going to trust you to help me lose weight if it doesn't look as though you're capable of following your own advice? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we need to be cognizant of. We are ambassadors of Toastmasters. Therefore, we need to have some kind of, credibility. And speaking of credibility, I'll tell you another story. So I was working at home one day, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm on the laptop, listening to some good music, just not as good as the music that, Zakia plays, or I think she was a DJ in her previous lifetime. But needless to say, I was there at home, I'm sitting down and I'm working and I'm really getting into this work. And then my cell phone rings. Now, I don't know about you, but there are just certain people, when you see the name on the phone, immediately you want to start getting headaches because you know that this is not a phone call just to say hi. There is definitely something behind it. But I said, you know what? It's fine. This is my brother from another mother. Let me pick up the phone. So I answered, hey, how you doing? Hey, Brother Mike, how are you? No, I'm doing great. Just busy working at home. Then he says to me, Brother Mike, I need a favor from you. Oh, Brother Mike, I need your help. I can't do without you. I said, okay, what's wrong? And he says, I have just driven all the way from Cape Town up into Namibia, and I'm on my way to Windhoek, Brother Mike. However, I am stuck in Rehoboth. Now, for those of you who don't know Namibia, Rehoboth is about 100 kilometers south of our capital city where I live. And he says, I just need some petrol, just to put some fuel in the car, just so I can make those last 100 kilometers to get back home. Mike, really, please, I'm really depending on you. Please give me that money. So, I rolled my eyes. Okay, it's fine. I'll send you the money. Now, because I had him on speaker, I was waiting for him to put down his phone. He didn't put down his phone. What did I hear? The next thing I heard really shocked me, because he ended up saying on the other side, "Bartender, please give me one more beer." Can you imagine that? So you can just imagine how I was feeling. And what do you think happened the very next time that he called me asking for my help? Exactly. I didn't help him out. Reason being, he had lost credibility with me. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to try and, embraced within the Toastmasters environment is that if you claim to be a Toastmaster, there's a certain air of respect and credibility that needs to be attached to whom you are as a Toastmaster. And so because of that, credibility is very important. And remember, as I mentioned before, you are an ambassador. And because you're an ambassador, you cannot sell what you don't believe in. People will spot if you're fake a mile away. Okay, and you essentially want to make people aspire to be like you when they see you. People should be looking and say, "Hey, there goes that Toastmaster." That's what you're looking for, excellence. So moving along onto the topic of excellence, I want to now ask you guys the question: how will you become more excellent? Welcome back in 1 minute. I see Julie Young.
We have Nondimiso first.
Very good, very good. Zoom-master, over to you. You will decide who will go first. Thank you.
Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Sorry about that. I couldn't unmute. The Zoom master just gave me permission now. Yes, so with regards to excellence, our breakout room discussed the fact that excellence is a value that you uphold both when people can see you and when they cannot see you. And it also touches back on the issue of credibility, where one of our members shared the fact that excellence is simply doing what you said you would do. So not wavering from that and sticking to what you said you would do, and going back once again to whether it's public or it's not. So in a nutshell, this is what we discussed in our breakout room.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much for that. I will allow one more person to give us feedback, and then we're going to move along. Zoom Master, you may pick and choose.
Finita Mija.
Great. I hope you can hear me. So our main discussion point was that one should deliver their speeches as many times as possible and produce the product by, doing the speeches. More speeches you do, better you get at that, and then take every opportunity to become Exco member, and then take every opportunity to mentor somebody else, because when you're mentoring somebody else, you are imparting your knowledge and you're also learning and the process. So 3 points. First, deliver your speeches as many times as you want and more often than before. Second, take Exco role, that gives you a position to actually practice that. And third, of course, do mentorship for others. It gives you benefit of on a higher position.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those powerful contributions, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys have hit the nail on the head. Now, what is the first lesson that I would like to teach you guys about being a public relations practitioner? You need to walk the talk. And in everything that you do, try your best to be as excellent as possible. So let us take a look at this whole issue of building relationships. How do we actually try and influence people from a public relations point of view? So this gentleman here is called Seth Godin, and he's written a book that is titled Purple Cow. Now, the premise behind the book, or the idea behind the book, is as follows. So Mr. Godin was traveling with his family, they went to France, and as they're driving around, now the kids, the family, they're from America, because, oh, look, Daddy, there's a cow. They'd never seen cows before. And then as they drive along, because they were in the countryside, oh, Daddy, there's another cow. And after about 30 minutes, you know what happened? The kids stopped pointing at the cows and yelling out that they had actually seen them. And the point that Mr. Godin, the thought that came into his mind was, wait a minute. These guys were excited. My children were excited right in the beginning, and yet later it waned. What would happen if out of the blue, we happened to see a purple cow? The excitement would start again. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to become purple cows. And I'm going to explain a bit more of the theory, excuse me, behind how the purple cow works. So essentially, because of our cell phones, okay? In fact, let me even just take it back. So because of these devices, our cell phones, we're in a situation where the public does not want to just jump on any product that they just see out there. I'll give you an example. What happens when you go onto YouTube? You click on a video that you want to watch, and what happens? An advert is going to show up. Now tell me, how many times do you actually sit and watch through the entire advert? I would actually bet that you skip that advert, right? In fact, your eyes are probably there looking at, the skip ad button. And the reason for this is as follows. Because of the fact that we're able to get entertainment on demand from our cell phones, it is much more difficult to stand out and to capture the attention of the audience. People are not going to buy your products or your services just because you say so. So then the question is, how exactly do you get them to buy into your products? Now, this is the distribution curve that you'll find in the book called Purple Cow by Mr. Seth Godin. And if we take a look at it, it's broken up into different portions. The first one that you see there is the innovators. Now, the innovators are the cool kids, right? These are the cool kids on the block. Innovators are those people who are always on the cutting edge of the latest technology, meaning that, they go out seeking things because they want to be cool. The early adopters are the people who want to use the latest services, products, technology to their advantage because they know that it's going to give them a competitive edge. The early and the late majority, they form the bulk of this distribution curve. And these are all of the other people out there in the public whom you are trying to target. Now, the way that this marketing strategy, or rather this public relations strategy that I want to propose to you works is as follows. You need to target the innovators within your space. Why? Because the innovators are followed by the early adopters. Early adopters, when they see, oh my goodness, there's this thing called Toastmasters. Wow, this thing actually sounds interesting. Let me go and see what the meeting is like. When the early adopters attend the meetings in your club, when they get blown away with just how brilliant and awesome Toastmasters is, you know what they do? They go and they spread the word to the early and the late majority. The early and the late majority, because of the word, because of the fact that they trust, these early adopters are then going to come to your club. If you try and speak directly to the early and late majority, no one is going to give you or pay you any attention. They're just going to think, you know what? You guys are just out here trying to sell a product just like everyone else. So therefore, the targets, the people whom you want to focus on are the innovators and the early adopters. And then the rest will follow. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. People will join your club based on recommendations that they got from people whom they trust. So let's take a look at a few guidelines. How exactly can you go about trying to prepare a public relations plan that's actually going to be able to assist you in the long run? So first and foremost, there is the Club Leadership Handbook, and our Zoom master is going to send this to you. So you need not worry. Go through it. There is a section on public relations that's going to discuss what you need to do. The other thing that we have is there's also a public relations handbook that we have that's called Let the World Know. This will give you real practical skills and tips that you can use to try and help you on your journey within public relations. And imagine, this just shows you the wealth of knowledge that you can find within Toastmasters. Then there's also the brand manual. Now you need to download this. Sorry, you don't need to download it. You need to read it. Our Zoom master is going to forward this to you as well. The brand manual will give you the do's and don'ts that make sure that you are going to uphold the Toastmasters brand in a respectful and effective manner that doesn't contribute the reputation that Toastmasters has worked hard to build. Now, in terms of a purple cow experience, this is what I want to propose to you guys. I want you guys to think of being purple cows within your club. I want each visitor that comes to your club to have a purple cow experience. But the question is, how exactly do we go about that? And to answer that question, I have developed a public relations mind map for you guys that I will take you through. So by following the steps in this mind map, which you are also going to get from the Zoom master, you will have a template that if you follow, guys, you are going to see tremendous leaps and bounds in the amount of visitors and membership signings at your club. So let's quickly dive into this. So first and foremost, this is the Vice President Public Relations. For our people who are not Toastmasters, that just means you're the person who is in charge of Toastmasters. Now, what are your responsibilities as a public relations person? Well, the first responsibility that you have is you need to publicize the club on social media, in the local newspapers, on radio, to companies and institutions. You are always publicizing the club. Then your second responsibility is to make sure that the club website is up to date. This is very important. If you have old information, you're going to lose touch with your audience. Then the next thing you need to do is you need to safeguard the Toastmasters brand, trademarks, and copyrights. And you're going to be able to do that by looking at the brand manual that's going to be sent to you. Now, as a person who is involved in public relations, there are certain things that you need to do before the meetings. Now, this will be a bit small, but remember, you're going to get the mind map, and once you print it out, it'll be large enough. So let me just quickly take you through this. Before the meeting, you need to make sure that you invite a minimum of 3 guests to come and attend that meeting. That's the first thing that you need to do. Then you need to contact people who have attended your meetings prior. And what you do is 2 weeks before the next meeting, you're just gonna pick up the phone and say, hey, I just called to say hi, thank you for attending the previous meeting. It was so awesome seeing you. Then 1 week before the meeting, you are going to call those former guests again. And you're going to call them again 3 days before the meeting, just to remind them that there is a meeting. Then when it comes to social media, for all of these guests who you're inviting, you need to send them friend requests on Facebook and all of these other social media platforms so that they will be able to see your posts and so on and so forth. And then you need to ask them to follow the Facebook page of your particular club. And you should also have a WhatsApp group that you should ask them to join. Now, when it comes to promoting a meeting, right? Some people make the mistake of only advertising their meetings or their events once before the meeting, maybe twice. That will never work. You need to make sure that this meeting is promoted at least 4 times before the meeting actually takes place. That's on social media, and that's also within the WhatsApp group. So what are you going to do during the meeting? Well, when your guests come in, you need to make sure as the public relations person that you greet everybody within that meeting, especially your guests. You need to shake the hands of everyone. Then you also, when you get a new guest, you need to take that new guest by the hand and you need to personally introduce them to the president of the club. This will make a person feel important. And most important, guys, you need to have fun during your meetings. If your meetings are not fun, if they're boring, nobody is, you are going to lose credibility as a club. During the meeting, you need to make sure that you take photos of all of the speakers, all of the role players, and whilst the meeting is going on, you need to be on your cell phone, posting those things onto social media and posting them into the WhatsApp group. What's going to happen is that people are going to develop FOMO and they're going to start feeling as though they're missing out, and they will work harder and better to actually attend the next meeting. The next thing that you want to do is when you have table topics at your club meeting, try and allow 1 or 2 guests to take part within table topics, only if they're comfortable, that is, and that will give them a taste of something that will make sure that they will always come back. So what are you going to do after the meeting? After the meeting, you know what? So you're going to engage with the guest. You know, again, that introduction of the president, what you need to do, if there's any new member in the group, you take out your cell phone and you're going to take selfies with that person. You are then going to send them the photos of those selfies to themselves, and you will post them in the WhatsApp group. Again, all of this is building up FOMO. And if you have the ability to, you need to record video testimonials just with your cell phone, just something that's 30 seconds long. Oh, the meeting was so awesome. You know, I can't wait to get back. And you post that to social media. Then you need to invite them back to the meeting, say it was awesome seeing you here. We want you to come back, and we really want you to try and join. At the end of the meeting, make sure that you post a group photo that you are also going to WhatsApp or email to each of the guests. It's going to be a psychological cue that's going to make them remember, yo, that meeting was so awesome, you know, and make them want to come back. And most important of all, you do not allow a guest to attend your meeting without filling in a membership form. And you make sure that they sign that membership form. They don't have to pay, but what will happen from a psychological point of view is that because they have basically signed this form, their subconscious will give them an extra push to actually commit to actually joining the club. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this question, right? About how are you going to go about building better relationships, okay? And we're not going to go into a breakaway room for this one. This is just something that I want you to think about and answer to yourself. What can you do personally to make sure that you're going to build better relationships with the people who are in the club and with your guests? And this is very important, ladies and gentlemen, for one main reason. When you start feeling burnt out, when you feel as though, you know what, I'm tired of Toastmasters, you know, these guys always demand all kinds of things from me, I don't want to come back anymore. Because you have a personal relationship with the people in your club, you will start missing them, and you will be more likely to give generously from your heart to take part within those interactions and to go back into the club. The relationship component is what is going to give you that wind under your wings to always go back to Toastmasters. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, how are you going to build more credibility for yourself? And these are the things that you need to ask yourself. Sit down with your committee and ask yourselves how we can build more credibility for our club. This brings us to our second lesson, ladies and gentlemen. You need to become a Purple Cow Club. There are many other clubs and many other organizations that are also promoting leadership and communication skills. But Toastmasters is the best of the best. It is the creme de la creme. And unless you stand out like that purple cow, people are not going to take notice of you. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the first part of my presentation. Our next speaker is my namesake, Michael Shackleton, who is going to proceed with his presentation on the power of personal stories.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well, and thank you so much for availing yourselves on a Saturday evening. I was waiting for a theme song to play, perhaps. However, if not, I trust you can all see my screen.
We can see your screen and you.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. There's your song.
No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. that will lead you home.
Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone is familiar by now with the song Jerusalem, which even the president of our country knows, and he's asked us to all dance to the song on Heritage Day. The song that just played, for interest's sake, it's called Skeleton Move, and it's by the same group of people, Master KG, and it's currently my absolute favorite song in the world. It's also locally made. And I would encourage you to go and find out more about these people. But that's from me, just as an aside. I do have a personal story to tell, and I would encourage you to use your personal stories to brand yourself, to brand Toastmasters, and to encourage and inspire others. I hope that many of you would have heard of a lady named Brené Brown. She has a seminar, or I would say it's a short 1-hour lecture on Netflix on vulnerability. She spent her life studying vulnerability and shame and courage. And essentially, she encourages us to use vulnerability as a strength to inspire others and essentially to move forward in life and to empathize with one another. And as we can see, courage is contagious. Every time we choose courage, we make everyone around us a little better and the world a little braver. And every time we give a speech in Toastmasters and in life, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an actor, the truth is everybody Michelle Obama has become known for the power of personal story, through the struggles people have been through in their communities, and being able to uplift people that way, and being able to, she encourages people to do the following 5 things, which I would say we should all take on board within Toastmasters and in life. We should take the time to find our own authenticity. As Michael also said, that's a fantastic and beautiful name. It means he who is like God. We are the protectors, so to speak, named after Archangel Michael, and we'll do what we can to affect that. But he said that people can spot if you're being fake, if you're not being true. And in selling Toastmasters, we do have to be authentic about what that is and what Toastmasters has done for us and our own lives. Believing in oneself, confidence isn't a thing we can turn off or that we should be turning off. There are difficult days, it's true. And I do struggle with confidence even in my own life on certain days, depending on what's happening that day. But confidence shouldn't be a thing that we're turning off. It should be a consistent thing. Focusing on what we're truly passionate about, that will bring out, if you want to sell Toastmasters, why you're passionate about that thing. But even in sales, as Michael also mentioned, just generally in sales, when you convey passion, people will be far more likely to buy into what it is that you are selling. Being vulnerable, I think I covered that regarding Brené Brown. And we have to be humble. We have to treat people equally. And I think the Toastmasters values, service, excellence, respect, especially speaks to that. My personal story, and I'll try to be brief. I'm just even finding the right words to be brief. Let's see. Essentially, my father died of cancer when I was 13 years old, just before I began high school. And my mother died of heart failure in my first year of university, just before I started with my first year June exams. And she died of heart failure. And they both died bankrupt without a cent to their names. And at that time, especially when my mother had passed, leaving me parentless, I felt quite lost in the world. I, didn't really know where life would take me and if I'd be okay. And this resulted in me having a stutter for several years. And I do belong to a political party, and I joined that party on campus, and you'll see as life went on, I was able to make a success of that. But because of the stutter that I had, I I missed out on becoming a city councillor in the city of Tshwane by just 2 seats in 2011. And I joined Toastmasters subsequently. And since then, I've been able to successfully become a councillor. Literally, I applied 8 times to become a city councillor. I became an attorney. I became a distinguished Toastmaster a few years back. I think it was the same year where I was administration manager. And once becoming a distinguished Toastmaster, I applied to be on the party's list to be a member of parliament. And I was successful, getting actually the highest scores of all applicants. And I also did that in 2016 when I became a city councillor before that. And I was only able to do these things by beating a stutter. And last year, May, I became a member of the Gauteng provincial legislature. And I don't think I'm better than anyone else, although it is, you know, it is quite nice bragging rights to say, okay, I was in all 3 spheres of government by the age of 31 and now I'm 33. But really, I wouldn't have been able to do these things without Toastmasters. And I think what Toastmasters has done for me, it's put me in situations. Literally, there was a speech I gave to the Forum Toastmasters Club where I was president of at a stage where I had to pretend to be a US senator addressing the Senate. There was a speech from a manual where I spoke on being, where I represented a company, an international company that was laying off workers. There was a speech where I had to pretend to be on radio. And I think many of you would have heard of these kinds of speeches, but it's given me the confidence that faced with similar situations, I can be okay. If I'm talking to 5,000 people, I'm talking to 50 people, I'm talking to 5 people. If it's a phone call, by the way, I used to stutter extremely badly over the phone as well. But even the things Toastmasters has put me into, it has helped me immensely in life. And why I put the picture of the Toastmaster magazine is that hopefully next year, what should be happening at some point is that I would be profiled for my story in the Toastmasters International magazine, which theoretically every Toastmasters member in the world would see. And that would hopefully serve to inspire others as to, you know, what Toastmasters can do for a person. And I always say that, you know, I've said this to many clubs, especially in my own area, that I don't think Toastmasters has made me better than anyone else, but it's certainly made me the best version of myself that I can be. And I think that's what we should be selling to people as the brand of Toastmasters, essentially. It can make you the very best version of yourself. I think I've tried to say from my personal story how we can sell personal stories for growth and success. That we should be having internal and external recognition of personal and professional accomplishments. And for that, I've seen that Odai Khomongwe, who is the club president for Midrand Groundbreakers, has joined. As a co-host, I would wonder if someone can maybe unmute Odai, or if I should go back to that screen.
You may give her the platform.
Okay, thanks. Should I go? Okay, I've never. See, I'm extremely rudimentary on Zoom, I must say. Yeah, okay, but I can see myself again. Let's go find Odai. So I was a co-sponsor of a club called the Midrand Groundbreakers Toastmasters Club back when they formed, along with Andrew Turo. And I'll say that story till I'm 100 years old because, you know, working with Andrew Turo really is fantastic. I'm sure all of us hopefully know him or know of him and the incredible work he's done within Toastmasters. But what I noticed from being in the Midrand Groundbreakers Toastmasters Club is the incredible way that the club celebrates professional achievements of people, both internally in the club to retain them, but then goes outside with graphics and marketing to tell people really how people have risen in their personal lives through Toastmasters. And I'd like to hand over to Odai Khomongwe, who is the president of the Midrand Groundbreakers Toastmasters Club this year. if you could maybe just expand for us as to how the club does that, and perhaps your own personal story of how Toastmasters has improved your own life and your own skills. Thank you, Odai.
Thank you, Michael, and good evening to everybody and fellow Toastmasters. My name is Odai Khumuma, and I'm the current president of Midrand Groundbreakers. Please excuse my lack of video being on. I'm currently load shedded, so my video quality isn't that great. So we at Midrand Groundbreakers recognize our membership excellence and their achievements by highlighting them in our meetings. We congratulate them and encourage them to carry on with their momentum on achieving their communication and leadership excellence. We also post the achievements on social media and as well as in our WhatsApp group where our fellow Midrand Groundbreakers are part of. So we publish their achievements and we pat them on the back and congratulate them for a job well done. This only helps them to carry on with their momentum of building on their leadership and communication excellence. Just like as people go to gym to get their summer buddies, leadership and communication excellence is built at Toastmasters. So we encourage them to keep coming back and building their muscle on leadership and communication skills. So how has Toastmasters helped me in my personal and professional life? Toastmasters, just an interesting fact about me, I'm an introvert. However, Toastmasters has allowed me to explore the extroverted side of myself. I'm very loud within myself, as most introverts are. And Toastmasters has afforded me this platform to be able to explore the extroverted side of me. And I believe we are not all born professional public speakers or leadership experts. But through Toastmasters, I'm able to develop those leadership muscles and communication muscles. And you know what that has done for me professionally? For people who don't know my affiliation with Toastmasters, they often give me congratulatory messages or messages of well done after presenting a technical presentation, which is often thought to be boring or unengaging. But through my experience from Toastmasters, I'm able to make these presentations engaging, exciting, and I'm able to capture my audience and carry them throughout my presentations. This has also led me to take myself seriously. In Toastmasters, you're able to learn to carry yourself professionally and as well as take yourself seriously, and the people around you also do get to take you seriously after seeing how you present yourself. And this leads to you having gravitas, or what they call executive presence, in whichever rooms you enter. So it has done a great deal for me in my personal and professional life. And I'm currently still at Toastmasters because leadership skills and communication skills need to be practiced often, because the minute you stop, the minute they all.
What just happened? You? I see that Odai's mic went off. Odai, were you still speaking, or was that intentional?
Oh, hi. No, that wasn't intentional. I think it went back on mute by mistake. Where did I lose you?
It's about 10 seconds ago.
You didn't miss much. I was just wrapping up and saying Toastmasters has helped me with my time management, helped me develop gravitas in my personal and professional life, and has a really communication. Being a good communicator is automatically associated with being a great leader. So every time I get up on stage or in front of a group of people, being able to communicate well and efficiently, I'm automatically recognized as a leader. So that's what Toastmasters has done for me. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much for that, Odai. Thank you for availing yourself tonight, especially fairly difficult circumstances. Thanks, Councillor. Unfortunately, Bonolo couldn't be with us tonight. He seems to be facing similar power challenges. But I think from what Odaya said, it is something that we can all look at from within all of our clubs, from a district, from a division, from an area. I'm sure that we all have people in our clubs, in our areas, that have somehow grown because of Toastmasters. It's possible that every one of you that I'm talking to might have grown because of Toastmasters. And I think coming from the horse's mouth, coming personally, even if the club creates graphics, puts it on social media, just as an example. I know there's some clubs that don't even want to use social media, so you can use any kind of forum that you want. But if you can show people that there are people that have benefited through Toastmasters, I mean, those are facts, those are testimonials. I think it's definitely reduces doubt as to the value of Toastmasters, and it builds strength. And I think although, for example, me, I have overcome some hardships, there are definitely people that have overcome worse hardships. I went to a club meeting where there was a lady that had overcome cerebral palsy. I mean, to me, that's unbelievable. I'd never even known that was possible. I'd never come across that. But, it says to me that in Toastmasters, we have people that have overcome extraordinary things, and they can provide hope, they can provide inspiration to their fellow Toastmasters, but we can also sell the Toastmasters brand, and we can show factually the Toastmasters is, it's a scientific, true, realistic system that works. I thought briefly I would just bring in another angle of personal stories rather as opposed to merely selling Toastmasters to the outside world, as well as retaining members. Like Midrand Groundbreakers, they would announce, when someone has become a published author, or they've been able to do a presentation they couldn't do in the past work-wise, and so on. I hope many of you have heard of Lloyd Mugabe. If not, I've never asked him if he's family of Robert Mugabe, but I doubt that. But in any event, he won the award for, he won the competition as the best speaker for Toastmasters Southern Africa. And there was a program I went on last year called the Spectacular Speakers Program. And I do tend to apply for all of these things, even though I'm a DTM, because Toastmasters, I found, can consistently improve me. So even this PR for Success program, I sign up for that, even though I'm a DTM, because I know it can give me insights more than what I currently have, more than the knowledge that I have. And Toastmasters will always improve me and my life and my personal skills. Lloyd Mugabe gave the example from being able to win a speech contest where he said, imagine a dog that you love. It can even be a fictitious dog. You can tell the audience about this dog, a long story, how much you love this dog, you had it since its birth, you played with the dog. It meant everything to you in this life. You were cuddling with the dog, you took it everywhere, you slept with it. And at some point along this journey, you kill the dog very suddenly. A car hit this dog. Suddenly it had a virus that had to be put down. Unbelievable. To the point that you can do it in a way that actually brings the audience to tears, because it's like they lost their own dog, the personal connection that you built with them. And that's just something that I thought that I would add about personal stories. Now, I've saved you the time of spending, I think it was quite a few months on the Spectacular Speakers program for that tidbit, but obviously you gave us far more information than that. But I think those looking to enter into these type of competitions of even an international nature, trying to win division and area contests, maybe you want to incorporate that kind of concept into your speeches going forward. And as you can see, you can always learn something new from Toastmasters every day. So really, I want to conclude largely by saying that you never know who you will inspire by just being you, by just being yourself. It is an incredibly vulnerable thing to do, to say, look, I was once, homeless. I was once jobless. I, really suffered, tremendous problems in my life that I've overcome. But people can actually relate to you through your own vulnerability. You can inspire people everywhere, in general life, within Toastmasters, outside Toastmasters, and so on. And interestingly, someone that I learned this kind of thing from was a book called The 50th Law, which is by literally 50 Cent, the rapper. His name's actually Curtis Jackson. And he said you can turn every negative into a positive. And I'll give another example of this when I scored highly in political party interviews, where I knew that I was the youngest person applying. And I actually raised that in the speech itself, specifically because I knew that that was the one thing that they could attack me on, and transform that into a positive by mentioning things like energy, determination, drive, but even things like, for example, the majority of our population is young, and they have to have someone to relate to, and so on. But I think, we can get creative in every respect. How you can turn every negative into a positive. And even having come from a difficult place in your life, you can transform that to inspiring others. You can transform that into selling the Toastmasters brand and into showing what we are about as an organization. As Dale Carnegie has said, most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. And I think, colleagues, that's a very inspirational message. When I look at my own life, many things I did not achieve on the first attempt. And surely many people that join Toastmasters feel that they do have to improve in some respect in their personal speaking. Even if they are already a good speaker, we all have elements which we can improve, and we're all helped on that really by a journey of constructive criticism, of building each other up rather than dragging each other down. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of my namesake's presentation.
Wow, 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 wow. Ladies and gentlemen, need I say any more? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the power of storytelling. Wasn't that an amazing presentation, ladies and gentlemen? If you are not inspired, to start taking your Toastmasters journey seriously, I don't know what's going to change you. What you saw there, ladies and gentlemen, was a DTM, a distinguished Toastmaster, showing us exactly how it's supposed to be done. And if you think about it, when Michael was telling his story, you definitely went through some of those emotions. You went on that journey with him, and you connected emotionally with him. And the second thing that you'll also notice about the stories that Michael told us, that even though he started off at this level and elevated himself to the next level, you never, not even once, looked at him and thought of him as being arrogant, because he told that story in the most efficient manner possible. Thank you very much, Michael, for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us move on, and it's story time. Now, before we, Michael basically gave us a demonstration, right? And some of you are saying, but you know what? Michael is on another level. How on earth am I ever going to get to his level? He's a DTM, What I want to say to you is fear not, because Toastmasters is exactly where you need to be if you want to get to his level. And within this training, what we're going to do as well is we're going to start, so you're taking a second. We're going to start showing you guys exactly what it is that you need to do, or rather give you a simple formula on how you can start developing your own powerful stories. So let's take a look then at these items right here. These funny little squiggly looking things are called neurons, okay? You have 1 trillion of these in your brain right now as you sit. And because we have, and each one of these neurons is connected to 10,000 other neurons. How do we remember stuff? How do you remember the taste of water or the smell of a rose? It's saved as a pattern of neurological patterns. Now, what we're going to, I'd like to give you guys just an indication of, you know, the power of the human mind. If I was to take a piece of paper and to write down the number 1 with zeros behind it, a number that represents the power of your potential right now as you're seated right there, that piece of paper would be 10.5 million kilometers long. Yep, that is the power that you have within you. Now, let's put this in a bit of context. The diameter of the planet Earth is roughly, what, 40,000 kilometers. That piece of paper that represents the power that you have within you would go around the planet Earth 262 times, roughly speaking. Let's put it in even greater context. The distance between the Earth and the Moon is about, what, 380,000 kilometers, roughly speaking, right? That same piece of paper that indicates the unlimited power that you have within you would go back and forth between the Moon and the Earth roughly 27 times. And this ties into what Michael was speaking about earlier on. Each and every one of us has this unlimited potential that we have within us, right? We just need to find something that can actually unlock it. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we believe in and why we promote Toastmasters, because it is a vehicle and a tool that is going to help you unlock your unlimited potential. Now, when it comes to storytelling, and when you want to get ideas and concepts into the minds of the people you're speaking to, you need to remember this. The food of the human brain is imagination and association. I'll say that again. The food of the human mind is imagination and association. And therefore, we want to use these as much as possible within our presentations or within our storytelling. So I want to ask you guys a question. What are these items right there? And I'm sure all of you will say, those are presents. How do you really know that these are presents? These could just be boxes that have just been wrapped up with some nice, paper. However, because of the associative properties of your brain, you associate these types of boxes with gifts. Now, I want to ask you for a favor. Everyone, please close your eyes. Close your eyes right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to listen to the sound of my voice. I'm going to mention a word, and I want you to see this word within your mind when I mention it. This magic word is mango. Mango, mango, mango. Juicy, tasty mango. Okay, please open up your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Please open up your eyes. So, was this what you saw when I said mango? I'm sure the answer is no. What you probably saw was this, the actual fruit. And if you went even further, you imagine just how tasty it was to eat that thing. Ladies and gentlemen, this should now convince you that our minds think in terms of imagination and association. So without any further ado, let's move into another practical element and tool, because remember, this is what we promised that we're going to do for you guys. So this is a storytelling mind map that we're going to go through. Now, what I want you to do for me is the following. I want you to take out your pen and your paper, okay? Because I'm going to be giving you some basic instructions. And what you're going to do is I want you to try and think of a story that you could use, a personal story of your journey and how Toastmasters has actually benefited you. If you're not yet a member of Toastmasters, don't worry. You can use this same template that we're going to use to try and figure out how you managed to achieve some kind of goal within your life. And we're going to do this using storytelling principles. So I love mind maps, and this is what we're going to do. So the first thing that I want you to do is you need to realize the following. Each and every single story has got a beginning, okay? Now, right now, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. I want you to write down, when did your story start, okay? Where did it take place? Who were the key characters and what was the situation? I don't want you guys to write a long love letter. Just put down the key points. Remember, we're just going through the motions. This is just for us to, to basically test this out, just very briefly. So I'll give you guys about 1 minute. So think about your situation. When did it take place? It was in 2018. What, you know, where did it take place? Were you at home? Were you having breakfast? Was it in the office? Who are the key characters in this, you know, within this story of yours? And what was the situation? You just woke up in the morning, or you arrived late at work. What was the situation that you were involved in? Okay, so now that you have those details, remember, this is your story, so you know exactly what it is that you want to talk about. Let's take now, every story needs to have conflict, okay? Something bad needs to happen. Now, if you take a look at the situation with, if we look at what Michael did, right? In Michael's story, the conflict occurred when both of his parents passed away, okay? What was the conflict that took place within your particular story? I'll give you 1 minute. Just write down the idea. I don't want you to write down the whole story. Remember, this is your story, so just write down an idea. What was it that took place? Where did the conflict begin? Think about the conflict. What took place? I want you to write it down. You're not writing out the whole story, you're just giving an outline about what basically happened. So we'll give you another 15 seconds for that. Okay, let us now move on to the next section. So we've introduced conflict, but now things need to get worse. In the colloquial language, beef, you know what? The beef needs to get even worse. So if we take a look again, looking at the example of Michael, what happened with him was that after his parents passed away, remember, he had a stuttering problem as well. So on top of being an orphan who's worried about the future, he still has a stuttering problem as well. How on earth is he going to get out of this situation? So I want you to take a minute to write down how things actually got worse in your particular situation. We'll give you 1 minute for that. And remember, you're not writing out the whole story, just write down the key points, because I just want you to get the idea of what it is that you are going to be speaking about. What I'm ultimately going to do for you guys is at the end of this thing, I'm going to ask for 2 to 3 volunteers to give us the highlights of their stories, and then I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can actually retell that story as well. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. Now there is a turning point. So this is the point when you realize that you need a solution. So things just kept getting worse, but there had to be a moment, a point in time when you said, you know what? I'm not going to take this any longer. Something has got to give. What was the point that took place, or what was the incident that took place that made you realize that you needed a solution to get you out of the situation that you were in? And with regards to the turning point, I want you to put down a note concerning where were you, what time of the day was it, and what was the situation that made you think about it. So maybe, for example, you were lying in bed and it was at 1 a.m. in the evening, whilst you were lying in bed next to your husband or your wife, and you realized, you know what, I need to make a change in my life. Or maybe you had just attended an interview at work and you realized just from the interview that these people are not going to take me. And in that moment, you realize that, no, I need to start taking my communication skills seriously. So I'll give you a minute for that. We're looking at the turning point. Just write down the bullet points. That's all you need to do. And remember, this mind map is going to be sent to you, so you need not worry. You'll be able to print out as many copies of this as you like. Okay, so now that we have the turning point, let us now move on to the next section. Now, this is the pursuit or the journey. This is the process of how you actually solve the challenge that you were going through. Now, if we tie and relate this into Michael's story, we heard about how Michael, ended up becoming one of the youngest, counselors, how he joined Toastmasters, and how because of Toastmasters, he was able to elevate himself to a high position where he's highly respected. And imagine, at age 31, he already got himself, into that position as the youngest person to actually get into those positions. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, his story is also going to be published in the Toastmasters magazine. But if you notice how Michael told his story, he explained the process. And because he explained the process, it never sounded as though he was bragging. That is the importance of explaining the process or the journey, so that people who listen to your story don't think of you as being arrogant. You never heard Michael saying, I just looked at myself and I said, Michael, you're the man. No one can get you down. You believe in yourself. Michael, you go out there and you do your thing. No, there was none of that. And yet, even though he highlighted his achievements, it sounded very humble. This is how you get it out, by selling the process or the journey. So I'll give you a few moments to jot down just a few key points. What were the steps that you followed? You attended a Toastmasters meeting. So maybe somebody invited you, Maybe you went onto the website, you found Toastmasters, you attended a meeting, you joined, and then you started doing your projects. You need to sell the process, right? Sell the journey. Okay, so now that you're done writing down those few bullet points, let's move on to the next one. Now we get to that climax, the moment of victory. This is now the point in the story where the hero finally manages to win. Again, relating this back to Michael's story, when he looks back, Michael is not a person who stutters. In fact, even when you listen to him speaking now, you would never believe in a million years that he actually had a speech impediment. That is the climax. That is the moment of victory, where he managed to overcome his fears and he managed, to succeed. In a movie, this is the part where the hero finally defeats, the baddie. So write down the climatic point in your story. We'll give you a moment for that. Okay, and remember, you're right, you're just putting down bullet points. We are not looking for long sentences. Just jot down a few bullet points for your ideas. Then, last but not least, you need to conclude your story. This is very important from the point of view that as human beings, we like things that are concluded. We don't like things hanging in the air. So in the conclusion, this is where you tie up the loose ends and then you sail off into the sunset, and the hero or the heroine lives happily ever after. Okay? So now that I'm a Toastmaster, and again, going back to Michael's story again, in the conclusion, he now wraps up saying, even though he's a DTM, his journey with Toastmasters will never end, because he knows the benefits that he gets from Toastmasters. And the life that he has right now, apart from it being because of his hard work, his grit, and his foresight, he dedicates a lot of it to Toastmasters as well. Then last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you tell a story, you must have 3 lessons or 3 key points that you want the audience or the person who's listening to you to basically take home. And it has to be 3 because 3 is a magical number from a psychological point of view. It's a nice number, that has a nice round sense of completion. So you could say, so what I learned, through my experience is that number 1, you need to work. You need to put in the effort. You reap what you sow. And then the second lesson that I learned was that I had to be committed to the process and the journey because things are not always going to be easy. And then you can have another third lesson. And when you put it that way, you give the listener 3 lessons that you've learned at the end of your story, they will be more likely to accept what it is that you have said. So with that being said, I would now like to ask the Zoom master. First of all, I want you guys to put up your hand. You have a rough format. I'm going to help you fine-tune that story. So I want to see if we can do this for about 2 to 3 people, just depending on our time constraints. So if you would like us to work on your story, please put up your hand, and our Zoom master will then unmute your mic. I'm going to take a few notes, and then I'm going to give you a demonstration of how that particular story could actually be told. Mr. Zoom master, over to you. Do we have any volunteers? Please put up your hands. Remember, this has to be practical, guys. We want you guys to literally be able to go out there in the world with practical skills. Okay, I'm listening.
So I have a question. Is it a Toastmasters related story or any story?
Make it any story. If you can do it Toastmasters wise, it's okay. But even if it isn't Toastmasters wise, don't worry. Just give me the story. Give me the highlights of the story.
No problem. In 2001, September 11, I was in UK. Looks like I have made it. I got my job counting pounds instead of rupees. And then I saw people running behind my back into the smoke room where they can watch TV. And September 11 happened. Twin Towers went down, and that just gave me the idea that I look like I made it. Like I got a first job, making money in a foreign country, but that conflict came like, is it it? It could be me tomorrow, you know, leaving the world. Who knows? Like that was like, and then when I went back to India after my project, the job get hectic. I was working like 10, 12, 13 hours, 14 hours a day, and then sometimes not going home. It was an accounting job. And I planned out, okay, this is not going to work. Like, I cannot do this rest of my life. I could see guy sitting next to me has done the same job for 12 years and he can't quit because he has kids going to school, you know. And I was like 2 years old in the company. Half year later, I quit my job, planned out, but every step to move to Australia to do my master's. And I was like, okay, this is what I have been trying to do to get a higher level of performance where I don't have to work like a clerk, and you know, and then found my purpose in life, moved from Melbourne to Sydney, from there 2 years later to US, then half a year later in South Africa. So here I am living my life from an accounting to public relations, taking the decision and planning it out, how to go about it, and meeting amazing people in this game of public relations and Toastmasters, and that's pretty much it. That's what I put it there. And life is going on pretty well. Not the way it was going in 2002 or let's say 3.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let me give an example of how we would tell this story. I'll never forget my first day at work. You know, I literally walked in, and as an immigrant in the United States of America, I felt so empowered about the fact that I was living finally in the land of the brave. The journey to get there was not an easy one, but finally I had managed to make it in. And as I walked in with my perfectly ironed suit, my perfectly put tie together, this is in the UK, so yes, you know, in the UK, and as I walked into the smoke room, there was this commotion and fear as everybody was pointing at the TV screen. And lo and behold, I was met with a shock of my life when I saw the destruction of the Twin Towers. And this disaster really impacted me so negatively to the point that I started questioning what kind of a future I was going to have if this was the kind of world that we were living in. Because those people that were in those Twin Towers went to work just the same way that I had gone to work that morning, not knowing that they would never walk out of there alive. I went back to India and my life just went, it literally felt as though I jumped from the frying pan into the fire, because I was so overwhelmed with work. And when you look at the work culture within India, Indians are not lazy. But I'll never forget that one day when I was sitting during lunchtime and I turned over to look at my colleague Rajiv. And as I realized that he had dedicated so many years of his life to this work, and what had he really accomplished, I looked at myself and I said, no, this is not my portion. And that was the moment that I decided that I needed to make a difference in my life. It didn't take long for me to resign. I packed up my bags. Ladies and gentlemen, I ended up managing to find myself in Australia, where I studied my master's in accounting, because I knew that I had to upgrade my skills if I was going to avoid being in a situation just like Rajesh. From Australia, I moved to the United States of America. From the United States of America, I moved to Africa. I moved to South Africa, a beautiful country which I'm enjoying, and I love my career. I have so much passion for it. And the lessons that I've learned from my story is that, number one, you are in charge of your own destiny. No one is going to get things done for you. The second thing that I learned is that things don't happen randomly. You have to have a plan that you can put in action. And the third thing that I realized is that it was Toastmasters that enabled me to put together that plan and give me the fortitude to move forward. And this is why I will always be a Toastmaster, and that's why I want you to have the same kind of success. So there's a demonstration. Thank you. Do we have another volunteer?
Wow, that was amazing.
Toastmasters. Is there anyone else? Let's take one more person. In fact, let me just quickly ask Zakia, how much time, how are we doing for time? How much more time do we have?
It doesn't matter. Let's just do one more. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
We have time for one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Hi there, I'm Joanne Schmidt from Durban.
Pleasure to meet you.
Through?
Yes, you are. I can hear you loud and clear.
Not sure.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Proceed, Joanne. We can hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me, or shall I just?
We can hear you, Joanne.
Great. I see my internet connection is unstable, but I will try and share with you my story. It was in June 2014, and I'd worked for a large corporate for 14 years. I'd reached heights that I thought I would never reach before. Then being in management was not quite what I expected. Was being asked to do things that went against my values, my faith, and my integrity. I stood down as a manager, a regional manager, and I became a target. I then was advised by the union that I would win a case against the people who were bullying me, and it didn't pan out that way, because management stood together and the person who was meant to represent me didn't arrive. I left the company, which was really hard. I was newly married. I hadn't been married a year, and my husband was working in Tanzania. I felt devastated. I felt a failure. And I remembered visiting a Toastmasters club about 6 years prior to that. I then looked on Facebook and found Highway Toastmasters. They met in the evening, and I was looking for a morning club, but I went anyway. I signed on that first evening. Right from there, I was able to fulfill my purpose in life with Toastmasters, because I love empowering people. I love presenting and facilitating. And that's what Toastmasters filled in me when I was unemployed. It gave me hope. It allowed me to set goals. And I set initially Triple Crown goals, and I followed Triple Crowns because I just thought it sounded wonderful. And in December last year, I became a DTM as well. And it's thanks to Toastmasters that I set goals, I achieved them, and I realized that negative things can happen, but out of them, positive things can grow, and that you can never stop learning. And Toastmasters gives you an opportunity to continue learning because you practice all the time. You learn from others and you share with others. And it really has turned my life around.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so let's quickly try this one. I'll never forget. It was the 11th of June in 2014 as I was sitting in the corporate boardroom. To the left and to the right of me were my colleagues. I was a top manager with one of the top organizations within the country. And I had been with this company for 14 years. I was able to reach levels that I never thought I was ever going to be able to achieve within my life. However, being a person who has values and principles, I started realizing that there was a bit of friction that was growing up between the company and I. They started asking me to do things that went against my principles and my core values. And the more I fought against doing the wrong thing, the more I got victimized. In fact, it got so bad that even the union had to step in. They gave me advice. They told me, you know what, Joanne, you need to go out and fight this case. I mustered all the courage and the guts that I had within me, knowing in my heart that I was right, I wasn't wrong, because I'm a principled person. And when I went into that meeting, my representative never showed up. Ladies and gentlemen, I lost my job. I was unemployed. I was newly married. My husband was in Tanzania. How on earth was I going to feed my family and my kids? And I felt like this failure. How could I have been so high and then be brought down so low for standing up for the right things? And then one day I heard about a Toastmasters club. And I remember that, wait a minute, I'd actually heard about Toastmasters before in the past. And having all this time in my hands, I said, you know what? Let me just go and attend this meeting. Let me just go and see what happens. That single meeting that night changed my entire life. In fact, Toastmasters made such an impact on me that I signed up immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, because I went through this program, I managed to achieve the Triple Crown, which basically means I managed to achieve 3 educational goals within 6 months, within a 1-year period. And just last year, I became a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest level achievable within Toastmasters. The lessons that I learned through my experience are as follows. Number 1, you must learn to set goals. Things are not just going to fall into place miraculously. And the second lesson that I learned through my experience is that, you know what, in life, negative things are always going to happen, but you can't allow them to keep you down. And last but not least, you should have that spirit within you that says, I am never going to stop learning. Even though I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, I'm never going to stop my learning journey with Toastmasters because I know that it will take me to even greater heights. And this is why I'm so passionate about it and why I want to encourage you to join Toastmasters. Okay. So those are 2 examples, ladies and gentlemen, and that was just to give you an idea of how you can go about perfecting your story to try and get people to listen to what you are saying and to get them to join your club. And remember, practice makes perfect. If you don't practice your story as often as possible, you're not going to be able to make any serious changes. And that brings us to the 3rd lesson, ladies and gentlemen. You need to make sure that you know your story. You've been given the template. You've been given the tools. Michael gave you an example of how he went through the process. And now you're going to create your own story as well. Work on it using that template and you will see tremendous results. So in conclusion, because we're now reaching the end of the program, let's just try and wrap things up. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, you must walk the talk. You must be excellent. Remember that the credibility of Toastmasters is resting on your shoulders. You are the ambassador. If you are not someone who looks as though you are striving to reach excellence all the time, people aren't going to take you seriously. And remember that excellence is a journey. It's not a destination. So don't worry or feel intimidated by where you are right now currently. Just strive for being the most excellent Toastmaster that you can be. Lesson number 2, you guys need to make sure that you become a Purple Cow Club using the principles that we just explained to you. The more that people come to your club, have fun, and the more that you build these personal relationships with them, the more people are going to want to come back to your club, and the easier they're going to sign up. Take a look at Joanne's story that we just heard right now. She attended one meeting, and because of the experience she had within that one meeting, look at where she is today, a distinguished Toastmaster. Last but not least, you need to make sure that you know your story, ladies and gentlemen. You need to practice this. And in addition to this, what I'd also recommend is get yourself a little notebook where you write down all kinds of stories and use the same story template that we've provided you with so that you can create your own database of stories. So what is the call to action? Number 1, I want you to become serious about the projects that you're going to do within Toastmasters. Do not rush through them just because you want to get them over and done with. No. Realize that these projects, which have to be linked to your personal goals, are the vehicle or the means that are going to help you become an excellent public relations practitioner, okay? Because these are the things that are going to make people look at you and say, yo, when I look at this person, you know, I want to be just like that person. And remember what I said in the beginning? Toastmasters believes that you cannot learn to swim or drive by reading books. So by taking your project seriously, your excellence is immediately going to start going through the roof. And second of all, this is the thing I want you to do. I want you to work on your story. Tonight, after this meeting, take that template and start working on your story. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure presenting to you. I look forward to seeing you again. So yes, Zakia will advise on the way forward.
Thank you, Michael. Wow. I think if we can get some applause going, that would be amazing. Otherwise, we just have to. There we go. Nice. Woo, 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 woo. Fellow Toastmasters, you can see why dynamite was the word that came to mind after our dry run, because this was something that speaks to each of us, to our hearts. And the questions that Mayambula Michael raised for us, how do we personally become more excellent and move towards excellence? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What is our story? These are things, like you said, forget suppers off the table now. It's starting with our stories right now and seeing how we can implement that immediately. And this is what PR for Success focuses and prioritizes for every masterclass. It is really important to us that when you finish your session, you are able to go immediately and put some things into place. And like Michael says, we need to practice. Michael Shackleton was brave enough and kind enough and vulnerable enough to share exactly how he brought himself from the position he was in to where he is now, with such humility and with such inspiration that for all of us, when we think about where we are now, I think by the next masterclass, we could all come back with something to say how we've elevated ourselves towards excellence, to a story, to better storytellers. And yeah, so I'd like to suggest, and I will ask Maud to include that in the Facebook post, is we usually have a Facebook post straight in the South African Toastmasters group. of the masterclass, and everybody tends to share beautifully about what that experience was for us. I know in our group, Breakout Room 6, the discussion on how we're going to be more excellent was really great. We didn't get to feedback it here, but I suspect that every breakout room had a similar story. So whoever the appointed scribe was, or spokesperson, I guess, if you could just pop onto the Facebook group and share and give us that feedback, that would be really good. Because PR for Masterclass isn't just 2 hours, it's what goes on before, what goes on during, and what goes on afterwards. And so our session really doesn't end forever. It just goes on. It's lifelong learning. I would like to ask you all to please remember to sign the register. I think at this point we about 18 people short of signing the register that you attended. And I hope you've all done your hair properly and put on your makeup and your earrings, because it's photo time. While we take photos, you can, let's see what the time is. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. So if you have any questions, you can type it into the chat box or hang on to it and unmute yourself. After we've taken photos, we will try to answer those questions. Remember, because we are a large number of participants, Afani, are you ready to take pictures?
I'm ready.
Okay, it's multiple screens, so you just need to smile for now and continue smiling for a while. Puneet, I'm going to share the register link with in the chat group now again. All right. Okay, so while we're smiling, think about our questions as well, so we can. Are you clicking away?
All right, yes, I am.
Anything funny?
Starting with group 1. Smile. There's photo 1. That's done.
Right.
And.
But we don't know what group we are on, yeah?
No. That's why you should keep on smiling.
Right, I'm smiling. Hurry.
Photo 2, done.
Right.
And then for the lovable people that just do not want to have their gorgeous faces.
Do we have those?
Yes, we have them.
Okay, but there is load shedding in certain parts of the country, so understandable.
Oh, and I haven't even shown my face.
Oh, that's an oversight. Yes, just do that again.
There you go.
You got it?
And here we go. I've got all of them. Thank you very much, Toastmasters.
Thank you, Afani. Okay, questions? You all ready to go write your stories? Anybody has a question?
I have.
Okay, Bertus, and who else?
I have a question.
Okay, and your name is?
Leah.
Okay, Leah, Bertus, and Rick, in that order, right? Leah, go.
Okay. I wanted to ask, earlier when Michael was showing his slides and he was talking about things that we're supposed to do before the meeting, some of it sounded like the job of the Vice President of Education. So I wanted to find, how do we then make sure that we're not duplicating the roles that we are doing? Because like the things that he talked about that we're supposed to be doing, yeah.
Okay. Michael, do you want to answer each one, or you want all 3 questions and then you do a combined response?
Yeah, let me do them one by one, not a problem.
Right.
Just so that we keep it in front.
Thank you, Michael. Bertus? You muted. Can you unmute yourself?
I actually only wanted to say that once we apply and write the story, more questions will arise, and then Michael will not be close to answer them.
Michael will be on the WhatsApp group, and that is part of the arrangement with our facilitators, that they stay on until and are responsible for being available as far as they can be until the next masterclass. So you are welcome to utilize that service. And yes, I do agree with you. The questions do come when we actually start practicing. And you can share in the group, and it's collective, so everybody can respond. It's not only Michael. We all might have, there might be other input. So feel free to utilize that WhatsApp group, Bertus. You are on it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you. Rick?
There was a question on the chat a bit earlier. Somebody would like to know from Mayumbula how he is managing to present and do graphics on the screen at the same time. Could he tell us the secret, please?
Should have
Yes.
specified questions not relating to Zoom Master technical issues.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly share the secret with you. So the program that I am using is called Prezi. So this is the Prezi website. In fact, all that you need to do is you just need to go to Prezi, Prezi.com, and it is a wonderful piece of software because this is like PowerPoint on steroids, if I can put it that way. And on top of that, again, as well, it gives you all kinds of templates that are customizable. So this is the software that I'm using, Prezi.
Thank you. We were all wondering, but we were trying to stick to the content. Okay, great. So any further questions would happen in the WhatsApp group now. I will add Michael shortly. Just a reminder that we will put the presentations into the Google Drive group, and I'll share that link with you all. And the recording should be available by tomorrow at some point. And as soon as that is available, I will share the link. I would like to really thank the two Michaels for living up to the meanings of their names and coming and delivering a very powerful message, very inspiring message. And I speak on behalf of everybody, I'm pretty sure, judging by the comments, about just how great the session was. I also would like to thank Ofhani, our Zoom production manager, for managing all this, taking on a rather large task and keeping things running smoothly. So thank you, Ofhani, for that. And I think, Maud, do you want to have something to say quickly?
Nothing much at this point, but all I will say is something I said at the beginning of the program is ideation without execution is mere delusion. These ideas, fellow Toastmasters, will mean nothing if you do not bring them to life. So we encourage you to take all these ideas and bring them to life at your club so that you can create the Purple Cow Club that Michael Mayambula made reference to. Please make note of this masterclass because the next one is going to be very, very exciting. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but you're definitely going to need these personal stories that you will develop to be able to work on the next masterclass. I look forward to it in October. Back to you, Sachi.
Thank you so much. The final and most important thanks, and that's why it's kept for last, is to thank all of you for actually coming on a Saturday evening and being here and being present and keeping us motivated to keep putting these things together, because it actually is quite a process to get a masterclass going. There's a lot of brainstorming between Maud and I, and then consulting with potential facilitators and refining our idea and ensuring that each masterclass follows from the previous one, so that you're building your skill set, so that the ideas that you get here and the skills and the information, you can bring them to life. And like Maud says, they're only as useful as you actually bringing them to life. So please do that. We look forward to hearing from you on the Facebook group, in the WhatsApp chat, and from you generally. We are available to answer your questions or to hear any of your suggestions. With that, the question I wanted to ask was, okay, Michael, can you answer this question quickly? The question I wanted to ask was, once we have our stories put together, can you recommend where can you recommend that we use them? Wow, my reading skills are not that great. Where do we use our stories? You're muted. Can you unmute yourself quick?
Oh, sorry
There we
about
go.
that. There I was
Yeah.
busy chatting away. Thank you very much for that question. Yes, you are going to use these stories anywhere and everywhere that you can find them. So when you're standing in the queue in the shop and you get chatting to someone and someone says, oh, you know, oh my goodness, you know, this queue is so long. You say, oh yeah, you know, tell me about it. But you know what? During these times, I end up just thinking about my Toastmasters project. Huh? Toastmasters project. What is a Toastmaster? Well, no.
Right.
Toastmasters is an organization. Then you get into telling your story. When you have your club meetings and you're speaking to a guest, and somebody comes to you and says, you know what, I'm really interested, but I don't know, you know, I don't really have the money to pay to become a Toastmaster. You say, you know what? Then you get into your whole story. And one of the lessons that you will put in is, you know, if you're really committed to achieving your goals in life, you need to join Toastmasters. So what's going to happen is you will learn to squeeze it, and you'll even modify it based on whatever situation you were faced with it. And just a final comment, table topics. I'm sure some of you are wondering, oh my goodness, how did I manage to listen to these stories and then, you know, quickly repeat them without having to take too much time? It's all because of something in Toastmasters that we call table topics. And I've been doing it ever since 2014. So I just have more practice. That's why it looks as though it's easier for me. And that is proof that Toastmasters works.
Thank you. That's a great way to end. Toastmasters works indeed.